Lesson 3-6, Measurement, Perimeter, and Area. By the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to find the perimeter and you're going to be able to find the area of different figures. Today's vocabulary words are perimeter and area. We're going to start by doing perimeter, and this lesson is specifically going to focus on rectangles or squares. And I always like to think of the perimeter as if you were to walk around the outside of this shape, how far would you walk? Another common way to think of perimeter is if you were to build a fence around this shape, how long would that fence have to be? So in order to figure out the perimeter of a rectangle, what you need to do is add up the length in the width of each of the sides. So here's the formula that's typically used to find the perimeter. It's perimeter equals 2 times the length of the shape plus 2 times the width, because here we have one length and over here we have another length. So one way you could figure out this part of the equation is either to do L plus L, or L plus L is also the same as L times 2. And then for the width part, we have one width here and the other width is directly across from the rectangle. So one way to figure out this part is to do W plus W, or you could represent it as 2 times W. So another way to look at this formula would be to be P equals L plus W plus W. Both of these equations are the same. I'm going to use this one because it's a little less writing, even though they're the same thing. So this is to figure out the perimeter, the distance around the outside of a shape. So here's the first example we're going to do. We need to find the perimeter of the rectangle shown. We know that the width right here is 4 centimeters, so we know the side directly across from it is also 4 centimeters. We know the length right here is 15 centimeters, and directly across from it is 15 centimeters. And we know that the formula to find the perimeter of a rectangle is P equals 2 times L plus 2 times W. So now we just have to take the information here from the rectangle and put it into this formula over here. So P is going to equal 2 times the length, which is 15, plus 2 times the width, which is 4. So now we're just going to go back and do the math. Order of operations says that we're going to do all of our multiplication before we add. So P is going to equal 2 times 15 is 30, plus 2 times 4 is 8. Now we're going to add these together. 30 plus 8 is 38 centimeters. We have to put a label on the end. So if you were to walk all the way around this rectangle, or if you were to build a fence around this rectangle, you would go 38 centimeters. Let's try another one. Sorry, that's the same problem. Let's talk about area of a rectangle. Now, when we think about area, we're thinking about how much space does this rectangle take up? If you were to think of this as a footprint, how big would the footprint of this rectangle be? Or we can talk about a square. And in order to find the area equals the length times the width. So all you're going to do is take the length and multiply it by the width. So here's our first example. We're going to find the area of the rectangle shown. And we know that the width right here is 4 centimeters, and we know the length is 11 centimeters. Now, the rectangle could be turned in space like this. And that means that the length in width would be swapped. That means that this side over here would be 4 centimeters and this side over here would be 11 centimeters. It doesn't really matter what you label L and W for the rectangles as long as you make sure that you use these two numbers. So we know that the area formula is A equals length times width. So that means all we're going to do is we're going to take these numbers over here and put them into our formula over here. So that means A equals 11 times 4. And now we're just going to do the math. A equals 11 times 4 is 44. And then we're going to label it centimeters. And since we're talking about area, we always square centimeters. And what a square centimeter is imagine I have this little square right here. And it's 1 centimeter this way and 1 centimeter this way. That means if I had 44 of these little 1 centimeter squares, they would fit inside this rectangle right here. That's what a square centimeter is. So whenever we find area, you always have to go centimeters squared. Here's our last question of the day. The area of a rectangle is 53.94 feet squared, with the width is 8.7 feet. We have to find the length. So here's what I like to do when we have a problem like this. I like to write down the three variables because it says area right here, so that means we know that we're doing area equals length times width. I like to start by writing A equals, what do we know? It says the area of a rectangle is 53.94 feet squared, so that means we know the area already. And it says if the width is 8.7 feet, so that means W equals 8.7 feet, find the length. That means this is the thing that we don't know. So instead of in our previous examples, we've been always solving for the area or solving for the perimeter, in this one we're actually going to be solving for the length. So what I like to do is now that we've written out what we know about the three variables, I substitute the information that we have here into the formula over here. So A equals 53.94 equals length we don't know, so I'm going to put an L there, times W is 8.7. And now we're just going to go through and solve this. This is a simple one-step equation. So we're going to ask ourselves what number is on the same side as the variable, 8.7. What operation is going on with that? Multiplication. What's the opposite of that? Division. So what number are we going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide from both sides? We're going to divide both sides by 8.7. We can show division with a fraction bar. And those three questions that I just asked myself, I've gone over in a lot more detail in the previous lessons of Chapter 3. I believe in lessons 3.2 and 3.3 and 3.5. I've gone over all of those questions that you ask yourselves in order to solve 1- and 2-step equations. So if you want more information on those, go back and look at lessons 3.2, 3.3, and 3.5. So I'm going to also divide this side by 8.7. And now I have the 8.7's cancel each other out, so you're just left with the L over on this side of the equal sign. And now I just need to know what is 53.94 divided by 8.7. And we can get out our calculator to do that. 53.94 divided by 8.7 equals 6.2. So that means the length is equal to 6.2. Remember, we have to put a label on it. These are all feet, so 6.2 feet. And now we solve for the missing length. And that's everything there is to area and perimeter. There's two formulas that you need to know. You need to know that perimeter is P equals 2 times the length plus 2 times W. And you need to know that in order to find the area of a rectangle, area equals length times width. As long as you know those two formulas and you know where to plug everything in, you can solve for any one of the variables.